Hello, everybody, welcome back to another episode of United Ramble podcast. Today we are going to be discussing the proposals which have come into the news more predominantly in the last few days, and that is the proposition of a European Premier League. This is something that has been in the news on and off for a few years, but it's never really been taken seriously. But the reason I'm discussing it today is that Manchester United and Liverpool appear to have come out in support of it. This is off the back of Project Big Picture, which was rejected either last week or the week before. But it now just makes sense, doesn't it, why United and Liverpool were pushing for that as well, despite it being rejected outright by the Premier League clubs. Basically, Project Big Picture, it did a lot of things, but one of the things it was looking to do was to reduce the amount of teams in the Premier League, and therefore, obviously, reducing the amount of games that would be played. So the idea, if you don't know what the European, if you want to call it something else, the European Premier League is basically, it's not going to replace domestic league competition. So we would still have the Premier League, apparently, but this would kind of work alongside it. And there's going to be basically the elite in inverted commas teams from all the European countries, and they'll all compete in a league together. And it's a bit unclear where these games will be played initially. It's a bit confusing as to who should be included in it. I think Man United and Liverpool are obviously front runners to be included. You'd probably expect Barcelona, Juventus, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Dortmund probably. But there's talk of 6 teams from England being in it, and you think, why? Why 6? Obviously, the Premier League is obviously a big brand, so that's probably why. But are Tottenham really an elite club? Don't think so. But for us 6 teams, I'd imagine they're going to be in it, given that they're in the top 6. And basically, the idea is they all compete in a league. And then I think if you finish within a certain position, you then go to a knockout stage of the other teams from a certain position onwards, and then you compete, and then there's a trophy. The thing about it is, which is one of the weird things about it, is the founding father teams, or whatever you want to call them, so I'm expecting again, Man United to be one of them, cannot be relegated for 20 years. Yep, I did say that right, 20 years. You cannot be relegated from this league if you're a founding team, right? Which is ridiculous. I mean, what's even the point? And competing in it, really, because let's be honest, Man United aren't going to invest. They've shown that, so we're going to be bottom of it every year. But I'm not really, I'm going to talk about it from Man United's point of view, but also a general perspective. I think it is one of the worst ideas come out of football, but it's also not surprising, right? So first of all, why has it happened? Well, honestly, I don't think it should come as too much of a surprise. It is being backed and pushed for by these American venture capitalists, and their idea and what they set out to do generally in business is to make money, regardless of how they do it. And they've shown that through how they've ran Man United. The Glazers are the perfect example. Little investment and maximum gain for them. And a European league where they're playing these massive teams every week is going to draw in views from around the world. Tickets will be sold at stadiums around the world, by the way. That's another thing. I don't think these games will be like Old Trafford at home. I think they're going to be played probably in the USA and Asia, to draw in, because they know they'll get the big crowds from there because it'll be a big thing for them. So the fans can say goodbye to ever seeing their team play in this competition, whether you want or not. It's going to devalue every single domestic competition, including the Premier League, because this is the thing they're going to be pushing for, and it's backed by FIFA, by the way, which kind of suggests it could happen, and they reckon this could happen at about 2022. So yeah, it's been pushed for. So FIFA are backing it, and these billionaires are backing it from America mainly. There's from other places as well, but the main high-profile ones are from America, and it should not be surprising, right? Basically, go watch. I've watched this video on it as well by another YouTuber. It's in the True Geordie podcast and the kickoff show that they do. Lawrence McKenna is a very good summary of it, but I'm not going to get as animated as him. But he does make some good points, right? So we shouldn't be surprised that this has happened due to the fact that we've allowed these people to come in and sort of push it, push this. And think about it, the Premier League is exactly the same thing when that was rebranded. When the league was rebranded as a Premier League, and it's backed by Sky, backed by Rupert Murdoch, who is also a billionaire, and it's in his interests to make money. They're not bothered about the standard of the league. They just know they've got all these big teams who play in the Premier League and they can push it. Now, think about a European league and what that'll mean for these owners. So, you're going to have Man United playing Real Madrid one week, AC Milan the next week, Juventus the next week. And it's, in theory, that will make a lot of money because it's a blockbuster game every single week. And there's obviously that question of, will people get sick of it? I think, yes, they will, certainly in Europe. However, places that aren't necessarily used to it, such as America and Asia, they're not used to really seeing these teams live. They could just go to a new place every single time. I mean, there's a lot of cities in America, a lot of states. And China is a massive country. They'll go over there and they'll certainly draw on the crowds. So that's how they'll keep it fresh, playing in a new stadium every time. That's going to be a real, that's going to be good for them, probably. They've never really seen competitive football live in their countries before. In terms of having European teams play these games, obviously they've got their own leagues. But the problem is, obviously, this is going to be a huge disconnect for the fans, And then if you're not playing at your home stadium, are Manchester United really Manchester United anymore? No, they're not, are they? They're not playing in Manchester ever in this competition. They're not playing at Old Trafford. It's almost like the Harlem Globetrotters who just go around the world showing off their skills. That's what this will be like. And, I've not seen any players comment on it yet. I saw Jose Mourinho yesterday just say, look, I'm leaving this to Daniel Levy, suggesting again that Tottenham are involved. But it's just overall a stupid and selfish idea by these billionaire owners. Like, they're not bothered about the fans, and that this just strengthens this idea that the disconnect between some of these owners. Liverpool owners, they're just as guilty. I'm using us as the example because this is a Man United channel. But Liverpool owners are just as guilty. John W. Henry, he's another American venture capitalist, and he's now showing his true colours as well. And one of the things that will really, really, really annoy a lot of people is this is probably going to replace the Champions League or European Cup to some of the older viewers. That won't be a thing anymore. A historic competition being taken away for this European Super League, or whatever you want to call it, which I think is ridiculous. The Champions League is a fantastic competition which everybody loves. So is the Europa League. I love going to the Europa League games up here. I live in Scotland, by the way, and I'm not going to say which team, but I do attend Europa League games when a specific Glasgow team plays in these matches. So that could be either of them. And I really enjoy it. And it brings a lot to the city. Teams like Newcastle are never going to play in Europe again, be more related to the English fans there. How are they going to feel about it? Everton having a fantastic season this year, pushing probably for Champions League. Let's say they did this next season, they might not get the chance because it's not going to be a thing anymore. So the takeaway of the Champions League is we disconnect with the fans. Fans aren't going to get to go to games. It'll be very expensive to go to them as well, by the way. It's not going to be cheap. You'll be paying top dollar for them no matter where you're sitting, no matter what stadium it's in. And quite honestly, I think it will be the death of football as we know it. It's already got quite bad with the transfer fees and the wages, but just picture what it'll be like if this comes in. Like, it will be absolutely ridiculous, and the Premier League just won't be a thing anymore. Like, it'll be a thing, and it'll probably be like on Sky, except we're still covering this. It still matters, not really meaning it. But you'll have like teams. Honestly, it'll probably make the league more competitive. So you have a league where a different team wins it every year. But at the same time, are people going to watch it unless you support one of these teams, which again, eventually will probably lead to Sky dropping it or whoever has it. Have like Everton winning it, as I say, Southampton winning it as well. Somebody like that, which would be good for them, but nobody's really going to care. It's not going to be as special as when Leicester did it, which is again what we're trying to do here. We're trying to stop a Leicester doing something like that. The big clubs want to be in control of who wins what and how much money comes in because they feel that they don't get enough back from what they bring to the league, which doesn't really make sense, particularly if you're Manchester United. What have they really brought to the league in the past 7 years? Not a lot, other than mediocrity, I would say. So, a bit up themselves and a bit out of order, I would say, to even suggest that. I think that's ridiculous from them. Liverpool, only really the last 2 years have they brought something. After that, they were finishing, what, 8th every year? Arsenal as well. You know, Liverpool, the only team since Chelsea from England to win, the European Cup and really impose themselves. Everyone else has been a bit here or there. Man City, yes, they've got a lot of money. Do they deserve to be in it? I don't think so. There's a lot of teams that should be in there before them. Aston Villa are certainly a bigger club than Man City if you go by history. So it's like who gets in it and who should be a founding member? I really don't think Man City should be. I mean, they would be. Yeah, so I'm going to try and make this last bit a bit more structured because I do realise I'm ranting. So the last point I kind of want to get across is like local derbies, they'll be finished. So the Merseyside derby, for example, that won't happen because Everton aren't going to be in it, let's be honest. The Manchester derby, that'll probably still go ahead, but it'll be at a random stadium abroad somewhere, probably in China, so you can't even watch it unless you stay up all night, and no doubt it'll be midweek, so people can't even watch it because they've got work the next morning. Normal working people who enjoy football can no longer do so. Yeah, same with London Derby, because I'd imagine both teams will be in it, still be abroad. It will just be awful, quite honestly, and I think it will just turn people away from football. If it does happen, it will survive because of the Americans and other foreign nations wanting to see it. People in England, there'll be a massive uproar if it happens in England and the UK as a whole, I think, and across all the other European nations. But I don't think they care. A big thing as well, will UEFA back it? They tend to go head to head with FIFA on certain issues. And another thing is, obviously, the Champions League is UEFA's brand. They love that. Everybody seems to love it. Are they going to give that up? I'm not so sure. I don't know how it would work if they didn't support it. And to be honest, if they're smart, I don't think they will. But they do a lot of things that aren't smart, don't they? So yeah, as you probably guessed, I am not for this. I think it is a total disgrace that they would even consider this because it's just going to make football unenjoyable, unrelatable, and why should people not be able to watch their team, on a Saturday afternoon anymore? It's just totally ridiculous. And yeah, I just really hope it doesn't happen, but something tells me it's going to. You remember Arsene Wenger a couple of years ago did say he thinks in about 5 years' time this will happen, and he seems to be right. So anyway, let me know your thoughts about the European Premier League in the comments below. Um, and if you're for it, please tell me why, because I would genuinely be interested to think why you think this would be a good thing. But yeah, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you soon.